As week 2 begins at the John Edwards trial, we may be about to hear from his former mistress, Rielle Hunter. We've already heard several days of surprising testimony from Edwards' main accuser, Andrew Young.
Here with a look back and a look ahead, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty and CBS News legal analyst Jack Ford. Nice to see you both. So we talked a lot last week about Andrew Young because, of course, he was the first witness. And by all accounts, he was pretty good for the defense, but unfortunately, he wasn't the defense's witness.
Well, you know what? You got to understand, trials, there's always an ebb and a flow to a trial. So there are good days, there are bad days. Sometimes within one day, there are good moments and bad moments for each side. So the prosecution, if you ask them, I'm sure they're going to say, yeah, look, we knew he came with some baggage. That's the deal. We don't get to make up our witnesses. We take them where they are. And I'm sure the prosecution would say he told the essence of this story here, what they needed him to get in. The defense, I'm sure, was fairly pleased. You might even say thrilled with the damage that they were able to do to him. But it's not the end of the case. You know, it's the first witness. Certainly, if you're a prosecutor, you always want your first witness to be powerful. And there was some real damage done here. So I got a feeling both sides are walking away saying, you know, we did okay. You never know what the jury is really thinking about all this.
But having said that, I mean, they showed him to be a liar and a scam artist. I thought the double dipping, saying, going to one donor saying, I have all these expenses I'm in the hole for, when they had really been paid for by another. That's a real problem with credibility. And the defense did something I thought was really interesting. They know there are going to be new witnesses coming in that may have more credibility. So they already asked Andrew Young and said, did you talk to that witness? Did you tell him what maybe, you know, is going to go on in this trial? So they've already raised questions about the credibility of oncoming witnesses.
So there are two things here. One is that what happened to the money. Still, if some of the money went to Rielle Hunter, there's a case. No matter the fact that some money was diverted.
Again, it's a novel theory.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it can't fly, but it is a novel theory that the prosecution has to get forward.
The other interesting thing is that he testified that they said to Bunny Mellon, this is for personal reasons, not for the campaign.
And that's the biggest deal. You know, I think the defense, and as Erin said, they beat him up in terms of credibility, and that's what testimony is all about, credibility. That's why we don't do trials based on paper. But I think the thing that perhaps was most helpful for the defense is they got him to say that it was for personal reasons. And the times that he said 5 times, John Edwards and he talked, and John Edwards said, look, I've talked to experts. They've told me this is okay. It's not illegal. And again, we've talked before, it may well be sleazy and it may well be immoral or amoral, but the defense is saying it's not illegal. Now, there's a long way to go for them to make that argument and for the prosecution to try and suggest otherwise.
And you raised that question about whether they put on Rielle Hunter, and that is a risk for both sides. She is on the witness list for both sides. So, okay, so prosecution put her on. That would remind everyone that, yes, John Edwards had an affair with her and she took money. But she's going to say that Andrew Young is a liar, that it was his idea to do paternity. So she could work either way. Now, if the defense puts her on, she may help the defense, but she's also reminding the jury that she is the mistress in this.
Here's what's interesting. You know, the jury's going to have to look at 3 people they don't really like very much. John Edwards, Andrew Young, and perhaps Rielle Hunter, saying these people we don't like, so therefore, what will be the basis of how we decide this case?
And you know, one of the things, and look, jurors, I think, work very hard at doing the right thing, following the rules that the judge gives them. But there's personality. The calculus inside a courtroom is always compelling and sort of fascinating. And as you said, if the jurors walk away with a kind of a yuck factor here, like, you know, I don't want to touch any of these people, you're wondering what impact that might have on the decision ultimately.
I think it may come down to whether the defense gets the former Federal Election commissioners in, because then it's going to come down to the law. And that's still up in the air. The judge has said maybe some part will come in, so that is really, to me, what we're going to be looking for in this trial.
Meaning that if they say what would they say that would save the case?
The defense wants to bring in 2 experts, former federal election officials, to say this is not what the law, right now, the way it's written, is designed to protect against. Essentially saying, you know, again, it might be awful, but not illegal. Now, the judge is saying, I'm not so sure, and that it gets a little bit complicated. Experts can come in, there's certain things they can do, but they're not supposed to say, yes, you have to find him guilty or not guilty. But it'll be a big issue to be decided by the judge.
A lot to look at as we enter week 2. Jack Ford, Erin Moriarty, thank you both. Yeah.